Welcome back to another episode of the Indie Scribble Circle. This is our first roundtable for 2025, which was very exciting.
I had so much fun. We brought on two self-published authors. One was a fantasy mix contemporary fiction, another historical fiction author. So it was a really fun conversation between them. I thought a lot of good, engaging questions. And I don't know, you tell me how you feel about it.
I had so much fun. I
Yeah.
just, it's fun having other people because we write in the same genre, but like totally different vibes. So it's also nice to include other people who write in just like totally different genres for me. I feel
Yeah.
like it's cool to hear all the ways that we're all similar and then all the ways that we're also very much not similar,
Yes.
like
But the
first person or third person.
right. And the common thread is chaos.
A common thread today was very much so chaos.
But this is fun. This is our this or that would you rather type format. Really casual conversations with the other two indie authors. I think it sparks natural conversations between us. And I don't know, I feel like I get to know you better every time we do this, as well as, the other authors that I don't know that well. So I really like this format. And I think hopefully our listeners will enjoy listening to it.
I agree. Well, they better because it's just so much fun. And it's fun to
Yes.
like play along as a listener too, whether you're a reader or an author too. You can answer the questions along with us. But yeah, so this was such a fun episode. We had Halli Starling and Kim Nixon on, and yeah, I feel like we can just get right to it.
I think we should yeah, let's go.
I love it. Well, here's this month's episode, and we will see you guys again in March.
Bye bye.
All right, well, thank you everybody for hanging out with Jess and I for the Indie Scribble Circle. I'm Christina Carmela, one of your co-hosts and the author of the Nelsonville series.
Hi, my name is Jes Smyth. I'm a co-host of the Indie Scribble Circle, and I'm also a self-published contemporary fiction author.
I am Halli Starling. I write across genre. I don't know anymore. I've lost track. And I'm also the co-host of the Human Exception podcast.
My name is Kimberly Nixon. I write stories or novels about the family story, which I'm very passionate about. My two novels are the Rock Bottom series, which have been published the last 2 years.
I love it. Welcome to the fun and possibly slight chaos. You just never know here. But we're gonna kick it off with an easy one for me. I'm curious if this is easy for you guys, but this or that, would you either, I guess this can go two ways. Would you rather write or read a series or standalone books? I'm a series girl. I'm writing like a huge series currently, and I love reading series. I like to be dropped into a world and stay there forever and just like pretend that I'm there. So I love that.
That's a
Very
hard question. Because it has to be a good series,
yes.
right? And they already have to be published. Like I can't wait the year, right? I just
Mhm.
can't do that. So I would say series under those conditions.
Yeah. As an reader, I'm with you. I'm like, I want to binge it hard
Yeah,
because like
yeah,
that's what I love to do. But as an author, I'm like, you just gotta give me time,
yeah.
please. I swear I'm gonna go fast as I can.
I read standalones. I used to read a lot of series back when I was like heavily into, I don't know if they call it this anymore, but chick lit. I used to read a lot of chick lit. So I did a lot of series, but now it's standalones. And I write semi kind of standalones. I take characters from previous storylines and give them their own story, but you don't need to read the books in any type of order. And I like that. I like being able to, and I like to read that way too. I like being able to take characters and develop them into their own storylines from a previous storyline.
I am stuck in the middle of a trilogy that was supposed to be one book, so I don't know
Oh,
what I did um, other than to make myself completely insane. I don't typically write series. That's not how I started. I've done the interconnected storyline, like just what you were talking about, picked up a
Yeah.
character and like gave him his own story kind of a thing. My memory doesn't work so well a lot of the time, so I have to really plan now for a series, and I wasn't figuring on that. But I've gotten into a point where I don't read a lot of fiction anymore. I'm in one of those weird, I read a lot of nonfiction. So when I was reading fiction, the series had to be out before I tried to even get invested in it, because, or you're waiting on, like George R. R. Martin, who's never going to finish something, and I don't trust it. Don't leave me hanging.
I feel like there's definitely trust issues with authors and readers and series.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Part of it, though, like writing a series, I'm like, I need to know for my own sake, even if nobody's gonna read along till the end, like I need to know how it's gonna end because I have no idea what's gonna happen. Like I gotta know for my own sake.
Yeah.
You know? Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know.
All right. I'll go ahead, Kim. Yeah.
When I wrote my books, I wasn't planning on writing a series. And oh boy, did I hear from my readers after the first book.
That they wanted another book.
Yeah, and it's fair. I mean, Ruby was only 29 and she was a hot mess when I ended the first book. And so I get where they were coming from, but they had to wait, and I wrote a second one, but that will be it.
Oh, you're not going to write a third one in the series?
Nope. I'm a related character like you talked about. So I'm
Oh, I love
taking
that.
someone, kind of a very minor character in the series, and she's getting her own spotlight.
That's so
That's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah. Well, I want to know, you guys, because I love asking this question. If you prefer to read or write or both in a dual point of view or singular point of view in your stories.
Oh no.
Hallie's over there laughing. She's like, no.
Sounds like Hallie's going first on this one.
Oh no. It depends on the book. I started with contemporary romance, and it flipped between 3 points of view, the 3 main characters, and then some of the novellas only do one. And then this one, Coup de Coeur, got me into 4 points of view because I'm a crazy person. And then the sequel got me into 5. So I lost control somewhere along the. I don't steer. I'm done steering. Apparently they steer. So I don't know anymore.
We were just talking about chaos. That sounds like chaos.
It's just a little, it wasn't supposed to. Yeah, it wasn't supposed to do that. That's fine. I'll let it go.
I write in 2. Like I can do 2 points of view, and it's usually I do like a male and a female because I center on like romance and stuff. So I can do that. I cannot imagine doing 5. I think I would get, and I don't know, maybe you can like speak to this, but I feel like I would get so confused with whose head and like voice is I'm trying to write. I feel like I wouldn't be able to keep them straight as I'm writing.
I think that's more than fair. Yeah. The way that it works with them is they're all very different.
Okay.
And that's the only thing that's saving my bacon at this point, is that they're very different. And the half brother is a real piece of work, and the toxic friend is a real piece of work. And it's much easier. And I always fear that too. Like I'm deathly afraid that someone's going to be like, well, I can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
It wouldn't work for me in any other book. I'm not going to say this for certain, but I would never try to do this again.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't on purpose.
Yeah.
I'm laughing because you lost me at Save the Bacon.
I'm like, yeah, save the bacon.
I started out writing one point of view, and there were just some things that I had to kind of make a mystery, and so I brought in a second point of view, but only kind of in a minor way, and I think it worked. So I guess I'm singular point of view unless I'm forced maybe to in the craft of writing, trying to figure out how to get the mystery across.
Sure.
I write singular point of view right now. I do have a plan for one down the line dual standalone within like my world. But the one thing I did just do for my last novella that came out 2020 that does not have COVID, just bad year timeline. Um, I like have to include that in my marketing. I'm like, there's no COVID in this world. I promise.
Yeah,
Oh
some
my
No
people don't want
gosh.
to
pandemic.
read. Yeah,
No
some people don't want to
pandemic.
read it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But in that book, it does overlap. The like last chapter overlaps with the first book in the main series this time around. So you get
Okay.
his perspective on Georgia's story,
Oh, cool.
but just in like a very small, it's only like a very small fraction of the novel. And I loved it.
Hmm.
I loved doing that. And that's why I was like, ooh, I can definitely do a dual point of view because I'm obsessed with this. And I might do a few other novellas that kind of do overlap like that. It was fun to like explore the same thing that just in like the stuff that you don't get in the novel. It was like, oh, well,
Yeah.
what happened when he went home that night and was thinking about like
Right.
them running into each other after all these years? But
I
wait,
found I
oh,
found when I write dual point of view, like when I get tired of writing in one person's point of view, it's nice to jump to another character and get like a different burst of energy from them. Kind of like with your novella. It's like, ooh, I have a different point of view, different energy.
yeah,
Oh,
it
yeah.
was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. Wait, I have a question though. When you guys write in multiple points of view, do you guys like still write chronologically or will you like kind of binge write one person's point of view and then fit it in with others?
I have to do it chronologically or I will lose the thread
That's what I would do, but I feel like
somewhere along the line. Yeah.
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 I find it
I-
interesting when people say they don't write chronologically and I'm like, how? Unless you're doing like flashbacks like
I
interwoven, but I'm
know.
like I couldn't write chapter 24 before I write chapter 12. I would
No.
be confused. I'll write notes if I have ideas, but like
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
I I accidentally wrote the end of my first book first. I wrote the ending first.
But your ending
Um,
kind of goes
Wait,
with your
wait,
beginning, I feel like.
accidentally explain.
I wrote the ending thinking that it was going to be the beginning. And
Beginning.
then
Yeah.
right, and then when I read it back and I was like, no, this is the ending. So then I had to go back and like figure out a whole new beginning. So that's not related to the dual point of view. I write dual point of view chronologically because I do think that whatever happens to the character whom you're writing with in that chapter can affect how that new chapter, even if you have it
Hmm.
outlined, whatever organically happens while you're writing can affect how that character, the other character, shows up in the book. I think it's important to write chronologically just for organic growth and things like that for the characters.
I agree.
Having read your books, Jess, the way you do the dual point of view is masterful.
Oh, thank you, Kim.
There's like plot driven and there's character driven. Well, I guess you have a two character driven thing going because
Yeah,
literally cannot put it down. It's
thank you.
wait. How are they going to react to this?
Thank you. Thank you.
I feel like that goes right into a next one. Character driven or plot driven. You said
Oh
it.
man.
Well, I love character driven.
There you have it.
Yeah,
The
it
characters,
depends.
go ahead.
Oh no, that's it.
Okay, well then I'll jump right in. Mine are character driven. And they're the characters are why I write. I mean, they're based on real people. And so I already kind of know a little bit about them, trying to figure out what motivates them, which is why I write about family members. So they're definitely character driven. I don't know. I guess so my first book is about my grandmother who in real life robbed a train,
What?
right? And so it could be plot driven. I mean, I guess that's also kind of easy to write about that. But she was such an interesting person that I think that's what compelled the book forward.
Yeah.
I have a lot of questions.
You ask.
I think I'm generally more plot driven. Although the book I'm writing right now is more character driven, and I think that's part of the reason why I'm struggling with it,
Mm,
honestly, because I'm like, this doesn't feel right. There's usually a lot of chaos happening, and a lot of things
mhm,
happening in the plot that
mhm.
are really dictating what's going on with them in general. And this one's not that way. There's
Yeah,
nothing like crazy, and yeah, I think that's part of the why I'm struggling, because I don't have. It's more just like about her and her growth and like
yeah.
figuring out who the heck she actually is. Yeah.
It's good to be challenged.
Yeah, this book is really giving me a run for my money, man.
Which can segue into this or that, because I'm challenging myself with some of this as well. So you guys, do you write in first person or third person, and which do you prefer to read as well?
I have a very strong opinion on this.
Ooh, let's hear it.
Never first person, ever, 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 ever,
No?
ever,
Oh,
ever. I can't read it. I can't write it. And I don't know why, because goodness knows I've tried. There have been a handful of first person books that I can deal with, but it has more to do with the writing style.
mm,
Mm,
mhm,
But a first person fantasy book, no, I can't. It's
mm,
just it doesn't click for me.
yeah.
And it's a personal thing. It's not a reflection on anybody else's choice. It's just for whatever reason, my brain doesn't want to be, I don't want to live in somebody else's brain.
sure,
See,
And
that's what
sure.
that's
I
bad
love.
enough. I don't want to live in someone else's brain.
But Hallie, how do you really feel?
Tell us the truth.
I never, yeah, opinions are never a thing I have a problem with. It's just but I also too don't ever, I don't know about you all, I don't ever want to box myself in either. So there may come the day that I try it and see if it clicks. And maybe I've been wrong for 20 years, and that's fine. I would love to be proven wrong. It just doesn't
It has to be the right character
register. I think
for
that's
right.
a lot of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't want to be in their brain, you're not going to want to write them.
I don't want to be in my own brain half the time.
That's why you have to go into someone else's.
I
Hard
think
to
it
write
kind
in
of
first
feels,
person. Go ahead,
I
Kim.
think
Yeah.
it's kind of genre specific too. So I write
Yeah.
historical fiction, and I tried it and it just didn't work. Like so why do the hard thing? Like, yeah, it was easy for me to do third person.
Yeah. I can't do first person. It's really hard for me. I feel like with you, Hallie, it's just I kind of just it's my third person is where it's at. That's where I feel my most natural as a writer. But I am challenging myself a little bit with my third book, and I'm sprinkling in a little bit of first person in a way that feels natural. So I do have a little bit of first person and third. It's mainly third person, but there is a little bit of me playing with that point of view, and I'm enjoying it. It's giving me a little bit more, I don't know, inspiration,
Mhm.
motivation. I'm seeing the character in a different way too, which I think is helping the storyline that I'm writing that is primarily in third. So it's good to challenge yourself, like I said earlier.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. I guess I did. Because there's in these two, there's in Coup and in the sequel in Demimond, there are epistolary elements that are
Mhm.
strictly from that person's mind, right? So I don't know if that's technically first person. That feels
It
like a
could be.
weird caveat, but
Yeah. Yeah.
only because he's a weirdo. Um, he was a real person, so and he's been dead for 450 years, so it's part of
I
it.
need to
But
I need to read
yeah,
these.
there, I. I tried to explain it when I had an event last week, and I was with no voice, was trying to explain it to somebody,
Yeah.
and I went, "Come talk to me later when I can actually." Try to give you an idea of how just absolutely bizarre this story is. But yeah.
I can't. I'm a first person girl,
Yeah.
Well,
and
see, I love that though.
Yay.
thanks, guys. But yeah, you has to be the right characters, and they have to
Yeah.
talk. They like have to come to you because I've had characters who like don't want to talk to me, and I'm like, well, I don't know what you would do right now, and
Yeah.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
So you definitely need like the right characters. I don't as a reader, I don't care. Like I can do either or. It doesn't. I guess it has to be right both ways.
Yeah.
I started writing a third person last year, and I like struggled so much that I started writing a different book, which has never happened to me before.
Oh,
So
wow.
eventually I will do third person, but I just like I couldn't do it. But I have like 10 chapters that are not good. But they exist.
They exist.
They
That's
exist.
not to say that you can't go back and play with it later.
I
You never
got
know.
yeah, so that's the plan. It'll
Yeah.
actually be like, and I don't know, I don't really know. I guess it's still third-ish person. You guys are gonna tell me. It's like it's gonna be as if like I'm telling you guys like a legend, like a story. Like I'm telling you
Okay.
like
So the storyteller role.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
So
guess
it's
that's
it's
third-ish person.
yeah, it's a hard one, right? Because they
Yeah.
have their own bend on
Right.
it. Yeah, I always find those are really interesting because it's like, how much do I actually trust this narrator to
Yeah.
not lie to me? You know, what if there's a one of my favorite, I'm a video gamer, one of my favorite video games does that. Right off the bat, you're being told this story, and I'm like, yeah, but he's a liar. So why do I believe? And you kind of find out as you go, like, oh, okay, he's spinning this in a way to make him sound better and his friend better than, yeah, for anybody listening to this that's played the Dragon Age games, they're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. But he's an interesting character because that's his role through like the whole series, is to kind of make you question whether you know what's going on or not.
Yeah.
Kind of fun.
So, Christina, are you inventing a new way to do a point of view? Is that
Yeah,
what
I
you're
mean,
doing?
so the one that I started working on is basically like all my books take place in this fictional town called Nelsonville, and like I'm so attached to this place that I'm like all of my books just like have to take place here, and it is what it is because I'm just like so invested in it. So like the series takes place in there. I have novellas, and then I have a list of like standalones that are also going to come, but they'll all be in this world in different time frames and stuff. So the book I started working on originally was going to take place in the 1600s, and I was like, this is not correct. So it's like actually going to be in like the late 1800s. And so the idea is like it's like the town's origin story. So it's like as if you came to visit Nelsonville and I'm like, "Oh, did you know that this is like
Okay.
how Main Street started and like it's these five women and there's going to be like a witchy kind of element that actually ties into like the main series, which you don't have to read to like know that. But it's basically me like telling you the origin story of this place, but it's not necessarily going to be like I don't know. See, guys, this is why I had to stop because I'm like, I don't know. This is like my idea is like if we're sitting around the campfire camping, I'd be like, oh,
Yeah,
guys, did you know? And then it just
I
like
love
launches.
that. I really, really like that. That's cool.
So yeah, so I have to at some point I will revisit it because I love the idea, but I think I have to be in a better I think I have to plan more than I normally plan for. Because normally I'm just like, see what
Mhm.
happens.
No,
That's not
I
gonna
feel
work here.
that. Yeah. Sometimes the book just doesn't ping you at the right. I
Yeah.
had to stop writing the last book in this series at the end of last year and was like, okay, what do I do when I need a break? I read a really goofy romantic novella that gets something cleared out of my system, whatever
Yeah.
roadblock is there, and then I can go back to this weird, dark,
It's
strange
almost like a
thing that I'm
palate
writing.
cleanser. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of.
A
Yeah, like when they
reset.
give
Yeah.
you coffee at the perfume counter. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
kind of.
Right. I love it. All right. So let's think about our last book that we wrote, I guess, or published. And the question is, would you be best friends or friends at all with your main character? I guess how like be any one of your main characters because you have so many.
Yes.
Absolutely.
In Dream for a Second, Lena goes through a lot of stuff, and I think she's like wicked cool. I think she really takes on her challenges in like a superhuman type of way. I would love for her to be real because I think that her and I could have some really awesome conversations. And she's got like a super hot boyfriend, so I
Yeah.
mean, But yeah, I would love to be friends with her.
It's
I already pretend I'm friends with all my characters, so
You kind of,
obviously. So yes.
I write about my grandmother, who I only met twice in my life. So that's a very interesting question because she ended up leaving the family. So there's some bad blood there. But I met the last time I saw her, she was 82. Right. And so you give a lot of grace when someone's that age. And it
Mhm.
was, yeah, I really, really, really wanted to like her. Didn't understand a lot of her decisions still, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Now, did she
Best
tell you,
friends.
best friends maybe, questionable. Did she tell you like a lot of her story and that's what inspired you to write her story?
No, my mom was the storyteller. So when she
Mm.
did this, my mom was an infant. And so she didn't know if it was actually true that it happened. But I found her conviction papers, and it was 125 pages of juiciness.
Mm.
So I never asked my grandmother about it. The two times we wrote letters for about 2 years, and then I went to see her, and I didn't have the guts to ask her, like, what were you thinking, Ruby? I didn't ask that question, but yeah, I mean, she was a woman born in the wrong time, right?
Yeah.
And
Oh my
so
gosh, yeah.
Wow.
if I think about her being modern day, then I think we could be best friends because she would have a lot more choices. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why your story is so compelling. Not just the fact I've read your second book, not just the fact that it's linked to like a family member, your grandmother in particular, but the way in which she was navigating through that time. It was during the 1920s, right? Like around that time,
The
1940s.
30s, 20s through 40s, actually.
20,
Yeah.
yeah. And the way she navigates as you read it now, like in this day and age, it's just like, wow, she would fit in modern times because she was acting as a woman that could fit in modern times, but wasn't because it wasn't modern times at that time. It's a really cool story, guys.
That's awesome.
I
Yeah,
love it.
I love
Yeah.
that. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I don't. So there are three main characters. Calix, who is a young earl who was born out of wedlock, which around 1800s in early 20th centuries is still a big no-no, especially when you're looking at like laws of hierarchy and passing things down and everything. And his mother died fairly young, and he, he gets wrapped up in a relationship with someone he went to like boarding school with and then university, and they have this really toxic um kind of way that they deal with each other. It's a very love-hate relationship. It's like he can only lean on this one person, so he needs Lawton. But so Calix, I would probably want to smack upside the head a little bit and be like, get your act together. Like, come on. He's learning as he's going because he's still fairly young. The other two gentlemen, Nathaniel and Aubrey, absolutely. Aubrey is exactly the kind of like nerdy archivist. He's a museum curator. Like he's really into these magical artifacts because it's historical fantasy. So and I'm a librarian. I've always been that like really nerdy into like history and all that kind of thing. He and I would have no problems getting along. Lawton I would throw in the dumpster. He infuriates me. But that's the point of partially of having him and also pushing him to have his own journey and to realize what a piece of crap he's been to the one person who's been with him since they were like 10 years old.
Yeah.
And have this really unique bond with each other. And Nathaniel, I see him as kind of the heart of the three of them. He's very caring. At the beginning of Coup de Coeur, he's caring for an ailing uncle who has tuberculosis and is dealing with all of this. And you could just tell how much he desperately just wants to like mother hen everybody and take care of everyone, but he has no one else to put those affections toward. And that's what pulls him into these other two men. Yeah. So it would just, I think it would depend on where we're at in the book series, whether I would get along with them or not. I get yelled at a lot about Lawton, which is fine. That's what I wanted. I was kind of excited when that happened. And readers were like, why do I hate him? Like, because you're supposed to. They're like, but why do I also think he's redeemable? Because you're supposed to. So I did my job. I feel good now about that.
I love that.
Yeah, it's good.
Jess, you want to pick one more question?
Yeah, let's see. Let's make it a good one. Oh, I like this one. Would you rather have your book on a shelf in a small independent bookstore or in a large chain like Barnes and Nobles?
I feel like both answers are right and wrong. Because I feel like it's good to want both. Like there's nothing wrong with wanting to be in Barnes and Noble, but there's also something really cozy about being in a little bookstore. I just want to be in any bookstore.
Right. I think it's important to have self-published presence in bigger stores, period. I love when I go into my Barnes and Noble, the manager is like all about local authors. But I also want to see more integration for self-published authors. I don't want it to be a shelf that's like, here are your local authors. Like I would love to just go and look and be like, and pull out a book from Barnes and Noble and be like, is this a local author or is it not? Is it self-published? Is it traditional? I just want to like know that I'm pulling out a good book. So I think it's good to have representation in big box stores, but I also don't think it needs to be separated in a way that makes it obvious that these are self-published authors. I want it to be integrated. But I love local bookstores because I think that they're just cozy and I think they're kind of like really important for me. Anytime I'm like, I need to do something comfortable, I go to a local bookstore and just browse the shelves. Like it's my cozy place. So, and I don't want them to go away. So I want to support local bookstores as much as I can. So I think I would rather have my book in a local bookstore.
Do we have to choose?
I know.
So, looking at the bank account, of course I want it in a big box store or be at the airport and see it as I walk by but there's just such a good feel about the indie bookstore. I mean, we're both in indie, right? So I think that's the better warm, fuzzy excitement. I'm more likely to send friends there to get it. So unless the bank account's really headed south.
Oh, that is a really hard. I mean, to be honest, I'm gonna swerve and go. I'd rather have it on a library shelf, of course, given my background.
Yeah.
And you can get them on like the digital shelves now, which is also really cool. It's always fun to see when my book pops up on like the Hoopla shelf or the Libby app. Use your libraries, folks, please do that. Funding is tied to how much they're used, especially right now. I got out of the gig like I have to count 9 years ago, and I work in the book industry still. So I understand the importance of the big bookstores. Barnes and Noble has done some really incredible things in the last couple of years since they took on a new CEO. And that's why you're seeing more stores going up, because they were on the verge of closing a few years back, right after the massive COVID hit. And they've changed. I don't know if you've noticed, like they run all these sales now and it's like half off hardcovers or half whatever. What was it 25% off pre-orders or something just here a few days ago? Just the other day. They never did stuff like that before, and now they're building 60 new stores, I think is what I read in Publishers Weekly. So it's great. But those stores are store to store, right? It's a franchise. So like a manager has control of the store, whatever they put on the shelves, like Jess had said. I have great indie bookstores in and around this area. Ann Arbor has some beautiful ones. There's great stores. And the one that I love to death, it's that cozy feeling again. We went on there, it was snowing. It was like Sunday morning, right as they open. I'm going to just hug all of these because
What you
it's
want to do?
fantastic.
The
And
vibes.
they cultivate, they're like their own little worlds when you go in
Mhm.
there.
Mhm.
Every owner cultivates their own vibe. The one that did take a couple of my books out in Ferndale, which just Erin just does such a lovely job with her. It's bright and cheery, and she has like all these candles and goofy little like puzzles, and they have a cute kids section. I'm just like, oh my God, can I live here? Can you just let me
Yeah.
set up a cot in the back and
They should do
I'll work for
sleepovers.
free. Yeah.
Sleepovers
Honestly,
at your
they
bookstore.
should.
They
They
should.
should. Yeah. We used to do that at the library. It
Our
was
library
fun.
does stuffed
Yeah.
animal sleepovers, and you can
Yep.
drop off your stuffed animal.
Mhm.
And then they
Yep.
take like all these really fun pictures, obviously for like kids.
It's super cute.
But yeah, it's
yeah,
like super
no,
cute.
I let my teens run around with Nerf guns after hours and they had a blast. It was
That's hilarious.
That'd be so much fun. I love it. I love it. I agree with all of it. That was a hard question to end on.
it's very
Yeah.
hard. Yeah. I
You
mean,
kind of
yeah,
need
that's
both.
I get where you're because like Kim, you're totally right. I mean, if it's on Barnes and Noble, probably more people are gonna see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But do you do the whole because I see both sides of doing the indie shelf. I love buying local author books, but I don't always know.
Yeah.
You know, because they don't usually I put that I'm in Michigan on the back of mine, but I only recently started doing that.
Yeah, I don't know if I do.
I don't know if I do.
Mine's in there.
I feel like I say
Texas.
that I'm Westchester based.
I think
Yeah.
it's
I
in
don't
my
know.
little bio.
Yeah, maybe.
Everyone
I
go
talk
check
about
your
that I want to
bios.
marry.
Yeah.
We're all gonna hang
Well,
up
it's like
here and
literally
go,
what
Yeah,
we need to
go change
immediately
our-
go run. Yeah.
I do always mention that I want to marry a British man, so I manifest in my author bios. Fine.
I love that.
Going back to London in 2 months, so we will see.
Oh, yay.
Ooh.
That's so fun. Oh, I love London.
Oh my God, we're obsessed currently. We may or may not be considering moving there.
Good for you.
We'll see, guys. But this was so much fun. Thank you
Yeah.
both for hanging out with us and chatting all about books.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun,
I
guys.
feel like we should all just march over to an indie bookstore now. and-
Right?
I know. Yeah.
Agree. Let's do it. If we weren't getting snow, I totally would.
Right.